Handsome, handsome.
Boyki, what's
How
going on?
are you, my brother?
Oh my man, so good, bro. Happy Friday, bud.
Yeah, you too, buddy. You too. Yesy. Yeah, we haven't caught up, last week, of course. I was away.
Yes, bud. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was cool, but it was so good to just to get out of this kind of little village, I guess we're in, you know what I mean, and into a bigger town where there's a bit more action and stuff in Floripa, and just be surrounded by other people and in a different environment where there's a little bit more going on. And yeah, just a change of scenery, I think, is sometimes, just amazing, isn't it?
Now, when you say Floria, it's Florianopolis, right?
Yeah. Floripa, Florianopolis, yeah.
So, but I've got a friend, Gustavo, that used to work on ships with us, right? And he's from Brazil. And I remember him telling me, Ryan, when you come to Brazil, I'm going to take you to Flora. He says, it's the only place in the world where you fall in love 10 times a day. He says, like, the bus drivers are smoking hot, the girls on the streets are smoking hot, the people serving you food are smoking hot. So, yeah, man, is it beautiful?
Yeah, it is beautiful, but you know what I realized is, like, I'm so over like bigger cities, like I just like just the fact that you like you have to get in a car to get somewhere it is almost like I'm like, it's too much for me now. You know what I mean? Like it's like at least a 15-minute trip anywhere to get somewhere. So yeah, so like minimum. So and you want to, if you're on one side of the island and you want to get to the other, you're in for like 30-40 minutes depending on the time of day and the traffic and stuff. And yeah, so it is awesome, but it is awesome, but at the same time, I think I'm just in that phase of my life now where I'm like, you know what, going there for like a few days every maybe couple months is perfect, and that's me done, you know what I mean?
Wow, that's awesome, brother. Yeah, you do. You start to get addicted to the simple life, right? Um, so I live on South Beach, and
Mm.
South Beach is its own little village, basically, right? And everything that you need is here, from restaurants to clubs to the beach and parks and things to do. And obviously over COVID, we've been working from home.
Mm.
So there was no need for a car, right? I was really only using my car to drive from the beach down to Coral Gables, which can be a half an hour commute. But in September, so my car came out of its lease, and I was like, well, I don't need a car for now. So I let go of that, and I haven't had a car since September. And just having a bicycle, bro, a
Wow.
bicycle, and being able to walk everywhere without the need to have to really fight traffic is it's addictive, bud, because it takes a lot of stress and wasted time out of your life.
Mm. Tell me about it, bud. It's so interesting because obviously, my sister, she lives just down the road from you, but her and her boyfriend Greg, they when they were living in South Africa, they both had cars, as you know, I guess most people do in South Africa, just to get around, you need one, but they were like, well, um, we don't think that we need two, we could probably do with one. And then they started doing a bit of research, and some guy had like gone through like years and years and years of data and done like a ton of research, and he'd basically like he'd basically come to the conclusion, based on a lot of data and everything. And he said literally, if you're a house of two, a house of two cars, you are better off just having one car and using Uber for everything else. Like, it'll cost you less. Like, this was specifically for South Africa, but I'm sure the same kind of theory can be applied in other places, because you're not paying for things like insurance. South Africa car insurance is super high because of, the threat of getting hijacked and your car stolen and all these things. Then you have things like road tax and all these other things that go with it, petrol prices and blah blah. And he put all of that sort of data together, and he's like, yeah, it's actually better for you and cheaper to just have one car. instead of two as a couple like that. So it's fascinating, but like there's so many good reasons to to look at other ways of transporting ourselves around, especially in cities.
Big
Yeah,
time, big
yeah.
time. And I mean, the rise of Uber really has just changed the nature of transport in general, right? It's
Mm.
incredible, but we live in such a fascinating and awesome time where everything is literally at the click of a button.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I'm in two minds about a lot of this stuff. It's like with everything. There's good and bad. There's yin and yang. And the internet and technology on one hand is like ridiculously amazing. And social media and similar platforms are ridiculously amazing for various reasons. But at the same time, they're also like very destructive. I feel they are also massive distractions, and they stop us focusing on things that we probably should be focusing on, even just ourselves. and yeah, I think it really takes discipline when it comes to a lot of these things. Like you have to be quite disciplined in terms of how you use them. Otherwise you just lose your life basically, and yeah, and that's not what we're on this planet to do, really, are we?
No, no, and it's like everything, right? You either get to use things or they end up using you.
Mm.
Whether it goes to relationships, your job, your technology. One of the fascinating things, I mean, I know you love Tim Ferris. Have you seen his
No
new
ways.
series?
I cannot believe you just said that, but I'm not even joking.
Were you about
Check,
to bring it up?
no ways, but check this.
Yes, man.
Check what I just bought this weekend. I mean, I've got his other ones, but they're all in storage. But that is so crazy that you just said that. We
It's
haven't
not
even
crazy,
chatted
bro.
about that. I mean, it's
Synchronicity.
not. No, no, it's not. But it's just like it's like what the hell? Yes,
That's classic.
that's classic.
So there we go. Proof that you do love Tim Ferriss. But he's just recently put out a short or a series of short clips where he teaches you his hacks for managing tech and and moving away from being used by it versus actually consciously using them. Um, all his best practices, the batching of emails, not having email on your phone, only there's like a special app you can plug your social media into where you only get to input into your social media versus then scrolling and being a consumer of it. So,
Cool.
man, if no one's heard of Tim Ferriss yet, I mean, geez, the Oak's an absolute legend, and his hacks for life are really powerful and very useful.
Yeah, but I mean, Tim Ferriss is a legend, isn't he? Like, his book 4 Hour Work Week. Like, if anyone has not read that book yet, like seriously, even though it's kind of, some of the data in there is a bit dated and the companies and things he refers to are old, but like the whole theory and structure and everything that he talks about is like it'll change the way you kind of like look at your own day and how you work and all these things. And yeah, it's a very motivational book, I think, to
Yeah.
yeah, especially if you like starting your own business and all these sort of things. You realize how much you can actually get done if you set up the right systems and structures and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, he's a very cool guy, I must say. Like someone I've you know how you can go like you'll follow somebody for like a long time and then you'll go and then you won't, like he's one of those guys that he's pretty much for me is like been there like most of the time in terms of the guys whose information I consume and all that sort of stuff. Um, yeah, because I don't know what it is exactly. Like he's not like in your face either, and he's not like hardcore selling you stuff. And I don't know what it is, but each of us are different, and I just find myself like constantly engaged with his stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. Who is the person that you're listening to at the moment, that you've latched onto that really is resonating with you at the moment?
Um, who is really? It's a good one. Um, I don't really know. There's no one that I'm like totally latched onto. I don't think right now. But there's like I said, there's guys that come and go into your kind of flow. Should we say, And the guy that I'm starting to listen to again is Rich Roll.
Mm.
So Rich Roll was actually the guy that Craig and I started our podcast like off of, like, you know, we wanted to like emulate him, you know, because we liked his style and how he interviewed and his guests and all that sort of stuff. Um, but he's also one that's kind of like, he's gone in and out of my kind of flow, but like he's come back into it more recently. Actually, his latest episode 600, is with a guy like I also really dig. His name is Matthew Walker. He's the guy that's written the book on why we sleep, called Why We Sleep, I think. And the book is amazing. If I'm sure you've read it probably, Bud. But it's also quite technical, I think. But actually, the podcast is power. You know, I actually heard him years ago on Joe Rogan, and that's why I started bought his book and started following him. But in terms of a person, I'd say Rich Roll is coming back into my sort of flow. How about you?
But you know who I love is Kerwin Ray. I dig
Don't even
Kerwin
know who
Ray.
that is.
Oh, you don't know who he is?
No.
He's from Australia, and
Hmm.
he's also got such a great way of speaking about spirituality, but also practicality. You know, psychology. He ties in emotions as well as you know, just taking action. So he's very cool to listen to.
Cool.
Um, and and then yeah, I'm still like at the moment just absolutely loving Peter Crone and his work here.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. He is. I don't know. There's something about that guy, you know, that you can just, well, not everyone, but I think you and I totally relate to just what he says, how he says it, and yeah, he's a very, very special person, I think.
His ability to articulate concepts, um, communication in any form is hard, right? And
Exactly.
especially trying to convey principles through the word. When somebody
Mm.
does it very well, it's awesome to listen to. And it
Yeah.
just, I know, it strikes chords for me every time he explains things and concepts, and also in the coaching realm. But it's been so useful for me because understanding the concepts from him, the way he puts it together with, you know, then reading spiritual books like Eckhart Tolle's books, and then working one-on-one with people and seeing what we are all going through, tying these things in and having these gems to lay on the table for people to sort of think about has been fascinating.
Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it. I remember I watched him on Ed Milet's podcast, and he just said like he said something that everyone says, I guess. You know, he's like, you've got to kind of live in the present pretty much, and like other things don't matter. But just the way he said it, I don't know what it was, but it just hit me in a different spot. You know what I mean? And like you said, is that communication. He has some way of saying certain things that just make you think of it like differently, you know, even though you probably heard it 50,000 times. And that was one of them, you know, and I was really taken aback by that. And yeah, I think you put me onto him actually. So yeah, thanks for that, bud.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. One of the great lessons I learned over the last year, I was coaching this girl Ashley, who's a wonderful um, class instructor. She's come up with this amazing movement called creative movement. And one of the things she loves to say when she's talking is and. So you will say something, say, what about this perspective? And she'll go, oh, that's very good. And what about this? And then she will give her perspective. So it's never, yeah, but
mm,
it's and. And as soon as you start to layer that, you start to realize that, yes, all of our views have validity to it. And it's important to look at every topic from these different points of view. So, and is such a great word to layer on when you're talking to people rather than saying, yeah, but, you know, no, you can't. It's like, oh, that, yeah, you could. And what about that?
yeah, yeah, that's so right, bud. Yeah, it's yeah, if anyone wants to learn or get better at one skill, I would definitely say communication should be right up there, because it'll actually change your life. It'll change your relationships. It'll just change the way people view you, and yeah, your view of the world will change as well. Um, yeah.
But he tell me, this is just an observation. You know, it's interesting whenever I'm engaging with people for the first time, one of the things I'm very cognizant of is observing how many questions they ask back. I would like
Mm.
to say I'm pretty good at being curious and showing interest when I meet people, because I want to get to know you. So I ask a lot of questions, right? I'll ask about your family and your history and where you're from and why you got into certain things and how you enjoying stuff. And it allows a person to open up, and then you learn about them, right? But what I find so fascinating, Gareth, and I'm just observing this more and more and more, bud, is just how few questions come back.
Yeah.
And it's just a one-sided thing. And you're like, okay, in order for a relationship to blossom, bro, if there's not interest from both sides, then it, I don't know, but it's just the relationships don't last, right? There's no depth there, because you may now know a lot about the person, but if you have to say to them, okay, tell me about me after we've spent X amount of hours together, and most people can't because they haven't even fired a question back.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's something I have also noticed, like over the years, like yeah, just people just don't, hey. It's like I don't know what it is, but it's maybe they just kind of stuck in their own vibes, and um yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I totally agree. Like that is one of the most important things to do, is just ask questions, like
Mm.
um and it's the thing that gets people comfortable. So maybe that's why. But also, you know what, so we have to look at this in two ways. So I totally agree with you with what you're saying, but also I think what happens is maybe because so many people don't do it, okay? Like they don't like show as much interest as you might in people. So when people do get this interest shown, and also with the type of way you show, it's like you provide this safe space that makes people comfortable, so they just will talk. You know what I mean? So they just like go on, they go on, they go on, so maybe sometimes it's not even intentional. They're like, wow, and Oaks, someone's actually listening to me. You know what I mean? This is nice. So we need to be careful of that, of that. You know what I mean? Like actually flipping, this is quite novel for them. Um, and maybe they'll realize the next time you chat, they're like, yes, yeah, I'm so sorry. Like I flipping just chatted the whole time. Let's go about you. So there's that little bit to it as well, I think.
Yes, you're right, bud. And I actually picked that up from the book, How to Win Friends and Influence
Mm,
People. And actually, he actually mentioned exactly that in the book. He said, when you get good at asking questions because you're showing interest, um, a person could walk away after speaking to you for 2 hours and go, wow, dude, that is, that Gareth is such a cool dude. But
mm.
actually, they did all the talking.
Yeah, that's it,
But they
bud.
felt because you were showing interest in them that there was this connection, that you built some real positive rapport, even although they didn't really learn much about you. You gave them space to open up and just talk about themselves, which is probably the favorite subject for everybody.
Yeah. But what he says is so true. Like I think that I don't know. I just think that people they what do I want to say? I don't know. I just feel that like they like these environments that guys like yourself provide, um, where they can just talk openly and freely, and that just doesn't happen often. So um, so that's why they just do go on, and that's why also people come to you now, bud. You know what I mean? They like you've recently had just people come to you for coaching kind of out of the blue, but that is a result of the environment you provide, and how you make people feel. So I think it's important in all these interactions to understand your role and your responsibility. Not that it should be like that, but I'm just saying, like, your role is this person who people come to because they feel safe in. So you can't necessarily take it negatively when oaks are not asking you a question, because you've actually taken the step up, like maybe in your consciousness, you know um and and as a result of that, more people are coming to you, you know. So even though they maybe not like finding out the finer details of Ryan, you know, there's a positive loop that's still happening because more people are coming to want to work with you. And yeah, that's kind of one way of looking at it as well, you know, rather than going, yes, well, I'm not getting any fucking attention, yeah, you know, but you are actually, because more people are wanting to come and work with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Listen, no, for sure. In the coaching role, of course, you wouldn't be
Yeah.
expecting your client to be asking questions about you because the focus is all on them. I was thinking more sort of in the personal realm. So let me ask you a
No, but I
question.
mean, but I also even mean that in the personal realm. But I think you
Oh,
like
really?
in the personal realm, I feel like, you know, you have taken the step higher, like I said, you know, in terms of your consciousness and how you act. And even in your personal relationships, but in your conversations, the same thing is probably going to happen, you know, just because of you are now vibing higher, and people just want to, they just want to speak to you and listen, you know, and tell you things and whatnot. Um, and yeah, I don't know. That's maybe just one reason why they're not maybe asking you as many questions or sort of thing, because
Yeah,
it is not common. It's not common, I don't think, that people listen, you know, because everyone else is always fucking talking about themselves and trying to one up, and you're past that. You're not trying to one up anymore, you know. You've had that part of your life, and now you're like, you know what, cool, I'm just, yeah, sort of thing.
it's a good point. It's a good point. Tell me something, bud. In your relationship with Marissa, how many years have you been together now?
Geez, 7, I think. Yeah, 6 or 7.
Do you still find a lot of curiosity between you two about each other? Like, do you still observe her and ask her questions about what she's doing and how she's doing, and how important is that in maintaining a long-term relationship?
Yeah, but I think one of the most important lessons in a relationship is that you always have to be working at your relationship, you know, and it's something that's like, I know we both uh, put a lot of effort into, you know, because otherwise you drift apart, like, you know, and you just become so interested in other things and whatnot, and so you actually have to make that effort, you know, like every single day you talk about stuff that you've worked on, the conversations that you've had, and just, you know, keep that curiosity going, you know. And it's also really cool for us, you know, and maybe in a way a little bit easier for us because we come from such different backgrounds, from different countries and stuff, you know. And um, like now we're living in her, or really close to her hometown that she grew up in, and I'm finding out like more about her and like, you know, the environment she grew up in, and meeting her friends, and you know, just understanding more, but at the same time getting more curious as well. So it's easier to ask those questions, you know. But but I just think it take all these things take work, you know. Any long term relationship, bud, like is gonna take is going to take work, and you have to put that in, and otherwise it just will never work, you know. So yeah, that's, I would say, I'm like, even like this week, you know, we found out some things about each other, you know, and I'm always so inspired by like her and her story, like, you know, and that makes me also more curious in other things that she's done and whatnot. And I think it's not just maybe like couples, but also like buddies, you know, like you and I, for example, you know, when we had you on the podcast, for example, you know, um, and like Devin, we had Devin on the podcast as well. And one of the things, and then even Craig and I interviewed each other, you know, like one of the things that stood out is that we go through lives, even with our close friends and maybe partners even, and we don't actually ask enough questions about your childhood and about your parents and about what you went through, and what you actually think. I think a lot of the time, like, I don't know, I just feel there's this weird layer when it comes to friendships that you don't always go under, and go that layer deeper. And there was stuff that we found out about you, living in Mauritius and, all these crazy things, speaking French as a youngster, and just like, I was like, yes, how did I never know this about this guy? Like I went through high school with him, traveled around the world with him, and I'd never known about these stories about him as a youngster. So I think there's so much there. We've just got to put the effort into all relationships.
So true.
Yeah.
Great, bud. So yeah,
Is there a
man.
reason you ask, or like just
No, I just
curious?
because I think it just leads nicely to the topic we've been talking about is just, staying curious and using questions to keep learning about other people. And my thought was, is there a stage in a relationship where you feel like you know everything about the person, or do you keep finding new layers and new stories about somebody? Because man, so much happens in our lives, right? So
Mm.
even though you could be with the same woman for 7 or 20 years, like, does it get to a stage where you just get bored of each other because, you know, or do you, you know, can you consciously stay curious and intrigued by the person that you spend all your time with?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the answer is definitely yes. But it's just a matter of an equal amount of effort from both sides, really, and are you is your goal in life to remain relevant, to by carrying on learning things and or doing things, um and if that answer is yes, then you're never ever going to run out of anything, on both sides, as long as you kind of both doing it, I think. And I think that should be people's goals. Like if you're single or if you're in a relationship, you must be constantly looking to just remain relevant, and by that I don't mean like popular. I mean like you want to, be interested in things and put in effort to learn stuff and to grow and to, yeah, just to enjoy. Yes, see, I mean, we have everything we want, but we're living in this time where there's just an abundance of information, like it's impossible to get bored and to not carry on getting better and more knowledgeable and wiser and stuff. So if you are, then you are just flipping lazy, and you're not putting in an effort, and you might as well just hit that off button.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's it, bud. So if you're not
Yeah.
constantly evolving and growing, then by default you're contracting and dying, right?
Yeah, exactly, bud. Exactly. So got to make the most of it, bud. You got to make the
That's
most of
it.
it.
That's it, buddy. Jeez, man. Yeah, well, we're 40 now, bro. Let's put the foot on the gas pedal, bro. We've still got plenty good years ahead of us if we choose, man.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I'm just like, this week was really cool as well, because finally I pulled my finger out and I put those videos for us of, these previous chats on YouTube on our channel, which is cool. And yeah, like you said, it's kind of like weird when once you put yourself out there, isn't it? You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like,
Yes, see.
hold on.
Yeah, yeah. But it's cool. I like that, and that's what's cool about these conversations and about what we're doing. This helps us grow and stay relevant and stay connected and, maybe inspire other people to kind of do a bit of the same.
Yeah, yeah, but and that's been the greatest journey for me with you, but is over the last years is really reconnecting and starting to get to know each other way better through this time. So thank you, bro. Thank you for your presence, man.
Yeah, and you too, bud. Yeah, and exactly what you said, bud. That's the thing. Like, we are um just reconnecting, not that we ever were disconnected, but we're just going that layer deeper because we never got to that, even after 20 something years of friendship. And now we're able to, because we're maybe just because we're more conscious of it and more mature, and we want to know. We're actually more interested. I'm not interested in, like, just partying and all that stuff, even though that's cool, but like I want to know about you and you want to know about me, and that's important.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.